Hello.
Hello, everybody.
Oh, I think you guys almost got something maybe you weren't going to be meant to hear, because as soon as I hit record, Jill goes, wait, before you hit record. And I was like, it's too late, man.
I love the pod, but I cannot. No, that's an off-the-pod conversation.
We can't air our dirty laundry on the podcast. It's just not our style.
We got businesses and brand stuff.
Yeah.
So can't be out here.
Yeah. Anyways, it's nice to be back. I feel like it's been a while. It really hasn't. It's only been a week, but anyways. Do you have a win from the last week?
I'm not gonna lie to the pod right now. This week's kind of rude to me. If you follow me on TikTok, you would have seen when we were recording, like when you get this, it would have been a couple weeks ago now. But my body did this fun pipeline this week of a migraine on Sunday, and then I had stomach issues on Monday, and then I got my period and also got sick on Tuesday, and now it's Thursday and I'm still sick. So it's not been like my most fun week. I'm not gonna lie. So we're gonna take the win as like actually resting. This doesn't happen often, but I canceled a couple calls this week, like my earlier calls, because I just was like, I can't. And I think as a coach, it's hard. And you probably know this too, of like, if no one does the work, if we don't do the work, nobody does. But at the same time, it's important to me of like how I show up for clients. And if I know I'm showing up like in a brain fog, focused on the fact that I feel like garbage, like I don't think that's really fair either. So I've tried this to just be like, you're allowed to cancel your morning calls. You're allowed to do the bare minimum and like not stress about workouts and just let your body recoup. Because I did way too much on Monday thinking I wasn't actually getting sick. It was just like a couple off days. And then I woke up Tuesday and I was like, oh, we've made an error. So just trying to lay low. And as a overproductive people pleaser, that's hard sometimes.
I think when you work from home or like when you work for yourself, especially like digitally, the way that we do, I feel like it can be really easy to just be like, oh yeah, like I can show up sick because I'm not going to get anybody else sick. But also in the business that we're in, and you did kind of mention it, is like, if we're not showing up like as our kind of best selves in the moment, like we're not going to be able to be there for our clients the way that they deserve and the way that they're paying for. So I agree. As much as it's really hard to cancel, I'm sure your clients understand, because clients cancel on us, you know.
Yeah. It's always funny though, and I don't say this in a negative way, but I'm sure you've experienced too. You can always catch the vibe when you like cancel on someone and you're like, hey, I'm like under the weather. I'm not feeling so hot. You can like catch the vibe on their end, whether they respect that fully or not. And that's not me directing that towards clients. I love my clients, but I had to cancel a meeting, and the response I got back, I was like, oh, you don't care that I'm sick. And I think that's cool to be able to like catch the vibe of like, oh, you don't actually care. You're just mad that I canceled this. Got it. Understood.
Yeah. Well, that's disappointing.
But that's
my win is like, it's kind of a funny win. So, okay. The backstory is that my car was like really dirty, and my parents were away for like 3 weeks, and my kid and I were gonna go see them and then go visit my grandma. And my mom was like, I just have to run to Safeway quick. And I was like, okay, maybe we'll hit the car wash. And I made the mistake of saying that out loud, because in the last few weeks, like I went to the car wash, I don't know, like a month ago, last time it was warm. And my kid was like, she hated it, but then she kept asking to go to the car wash. So I was like, oh, okay, like maybe you want to do this. And she lost her mind and was like, I don't want to go to the car wash. And I was like, okay, fine. Like we won't, no big deal. But then if you know toddlers, it was a fixation that kept going. And at the point where I was like, okay, like we're not going to the car wash. You said you don't want to, we're not going. I will go another day by myself. So I get to my parents' house, and whatever, my kid napped there, and my dad was like, oh, I have to go do an errand. Can I just take your car because it's blocking me in? And I was like, yeah, sure, whatever. And I had told them about this whole she doesn't want to go to the car wash thing. My dad comes back with my car impeccably washed, vacuumed, which I would have never done. And he's like, I cleaned your car mats too, and which I would have never done. And I was like, oh,
what a treat.
And then I was like, see, we don't have to go to the car wash. And my kid was like, I don't want to go to the car. And I was like, oh my God. So it was a win in that I actually said, I was like, man, I don't know when I'm going to get this done. Like, she doesn't want to go. Like, it's just a big thing. And it's kind of stressing me out because she won't stop talking about it. If you've ever had that battle with a toddler, if you have a tip for me of how to end that conversation besides just ignoring them until they stop, she's still saying it. But so I was like, oh, that was my win, is that my car got washed and I didn't have to do it. Thanks, Dad.
We love that. I feel like
listen to the podcast, but yeah, shout out to dads.
We love dads. Dads just love to help. I think I've learned that, recognize that as I get older with my dad. I'm like, oh, he just wants to help. Sometimes you just have to give him a job and they're like, thank you. I wanted to help.
I feel like a lot of dads, and maybe just dads of our sort of generation, their love language to other people is acts of service.
Yeah.
Right. So if you know the love languages, I feel like it wouldn't be oh, you need a hug because your toddler's driving you crazy, but let me do something for you so that you feel like you're getting a hug by my job that I did.
I also think it's a girl dad thing.
Maybe.
Obviously, yeah. I only have a sister, but
my dad has a son too, but he would probably not do that for my brother.
That's what I mean.
Take his fucking watch.
Dads and their daughters are just give me a job, I'll go do it. I had to convince my dad the other day that I didn't need washer fluid in my car. He was like, let me fill it up. I'm like, I literally just filled it up. He's like, yeah, but I have the good stuff. I'm like, yeah, but I literally just filled mine up. He's like, well, I'll just top it up. I was like, Dad,
what are you going to do? Empty it and then refill?
I'm like, leave my washer fluid alone. I love you, but I don't need any.
Stop. Yeah, that's hilarious. Okay, so we have a topic we're going to talk about today, but we have a mini question from the DMs, which I thought was really good. And it is, what is your favorite client wins or shares that you didn't expect as a trainer?
I think in general, some of my favorite feedback is when people first start their programs, specifically workout programs, because that's more instant feedback than nutrition. Is when people are like, I went and did the workouts and it was exactly, I got that feedback from a client this week of this is exactly what I needed. It pushed me. I felt good leaving the gym. That instant feedback of holy shit, this is why custom programs work. I always love watching that click in people's brains of oh, when you have a structured program, it actually feels different than just doing whatever. I think some of my favorite ones, even though I'm a fat loss coach, is the non-scale. And when I have those moments with clients that they're just yeah, I don't really care. And especially as a fat loss coach, those moments of, I don't really care what the scale says anymore. I feel better. I feel stronger. They've probably lost fat, but being able to let go of those traditional measures of progress, I think, especially as a fat loss coach, is really cool to watch people be I know this is a goal, but weight matters far less to me now.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I would say that, yeah, some of those ones that you kind of, either the ones that are unexpected or when somebody first starts and they realize that what you offer is something that they've always kind of needed. Mm-hmm. So I think that is really important. Yeah, I really like those ones too. Or when they say something oh, this is so much better than any coaching I've ever had in the past. Or I think I shared it on the last one where a client had a trainer that didn't really acknowledge the sort of like the barriers that were like kind of small, and like they were like, even just the fact that you acknowledge that just makes me feel like, you know, that was like a big deal to them. Because they are a big deal.
No, I think the way you and I approach our coaching, and some other coaches approach their coaching, it's cool to watch that click in people's brains of there is better out there. I had a client in her initial assessment the other day. I was just going through like asking some questions, asking her what she wanted in her check-in, all that kind of stuff. And she had a moment of, she asked about tracking, and she said, do you want me tracking? And I said, I don't know. Does that feel beneficial to you? Makes no difference to me. Yes, I'm a fat loss coach. I can create fat loss for you habit-wise or tracking-wise. Makes no difference. Does that feel like something that's productive to you? She didn't really answer me, and then I gave her a second, and she was like, I think that's cool that you asked me that question, and that you're not just like, this is what you have to do, shut up and do it. I know she said that in a lighthearted way, but at the same time, I know who her past coaches are. And that was the narrative with them, was like, this is how you do it, and you don't have a second option. And I think giving people that flexibility is a really cool win or feedback to get, of watching them be like, oh, I can make decisions for myself throughout this process.
And I guess my like agreeing with all of those things, because I feel like there's tons of wins that we get, because we get wins every time we talk to our clients. And there's tons and tons and tons of wins, but one that I'm going to share is, and this is funny, I was like, oh, this actually reminds me of a conversation I had in the DMs from somebody who we both used to coach, not one-on-one, but in a group environment. And so they've never actually been a one-on-one client of mine, but it just goes to show that like being a coach isn't always coaching the people who are paying you. It's showing people what's possible. And still offering like advice, or even just like your general presence like on social media, which is kind of like, I know it's hard for people who don't have our kind of businesses to understand, but people follow us, or even you guys listening to the podcast, you're going to listen to us for X amount of hours before you decide, I want to coach with that person. And it might not be this year, it might be years down the road or whatever, but what we put out, and the reason why we put out content and podcasts and posts and reels and TikToks, is to show people who we are and what coaching with us is like, or could be like, to turn you people into clients, right? You never ever have to be a client, but having stuff like this certainly helps you get to know us, not just kind of go in blind. So this is somebody who always kind of had like an injury that held them back, and I can tell you the millions of modifications that were always offered and everything like that. And they finally sort of figured out what was going on, and it wasn't what they were initially told from a first physio. That's kind of the backstory. And so she was telling me the update, and then she said, I'm so thankful you taught me to listen to my body and keep looking for the right person to help. If I had never met you, I would have just accepted I had a crappy knee and went on with life. Turns out it wasn't her knee. Shock. But I was like, you know what? Wow. You're welcome. Like, it just made me feel like everything that we're doing, it's working. Right? So I love that someone was able to use a philosophy that I truly believe in to figure out what was actually going on and get the help that they really needed. So yeah, that's
that was a good question. I like that question.
That was such a good question. Really made me think about, I was like, oh, wins. Like, we get wins all the time. And sometimes it's like, wins, yay. But it's kind of cool to look back and be like, man, we're pretty good at what we do. Like, toot toot my own little horn. We did have a bigger question. Why don't you segue it?
Yeah, we had a DM
from a longtime listener. I actually know who it is, but
yeah, on the podcast account. And in my apologies, I didn't see it for a quick minute, but it's fine. I saw it now, and that's all that matters. The DM said, "Hey ladies, I've been seeing a lot of ads on Instagram about somatic exercises for fat loss. If you're interested, can you do an episode on it?" So I sent it over to Jess and we both looked into it a little bit. Looks like there's quite a few options out there on the internet about.
You forgot the most important part of that message was she asked us to tell everybody if it was fit for the pit. So millennials who used to watch Street Sense, Jill, need not apply.
Not me.
Is it fit for the pit? I just love using that reference because Street Sense was such a banger show.
Yeah. So
we like, okay.
Don't know. Of course, with the internet, if you Google it, there's a few options. I just clicked on the first one, and I'm not gonna lie to you, right off the bat, it's my least favorite thing. Comes up with a questionnaire.
Yeah, I was gonna say before you do that, my Google actually gave me like a couple definitions. So before we get into this little quiz, because that's what came up for me too, I was targeted on TikTok. Because I was like, wow, it was interesting. Basically, what Google told me was somatic exercises involve performing movement for the sake of movement. Throughout the exercise, you focus on your inner experience as you move and expand your internal awareness. And I was like, okay. And then the other thing that came up for me was that there was an ad on TikTok telling me, quote, "The emotions stored in my hips are preventing me from losing the weight that I want to lose." And I was like, really? Which particular emotions? Rage against the patriarchy or something else?
I just have an instant thought. Can you repeat the definition of somatic one more time?
Yeah, sure. Sure. For the people in the back, somatic exercises involve performing movement for the sake of movement.
Okay, cool. That's what I thought you said. However, this questionnaire, which is by Better Me, literal first question was, "What's your main goal?" And one of the options was lose weight. And every single question after has been around fat loss. So I love that the definition is to move for the sake of moving, but like that ain't what this questionnaire is leading to me toward.
The questionnaire is changing for me. Okay, there we go. Yeah. So the part that struck me and then knew as soon as that ad said, the emotions that are stored in your hips might be preventing you from losing weight, I was like, well, is it because we're eating our emotions? Or like, what's going on here? That was a very like yoga thing to say. And that immediately made me think, oh, this is going to be yoga or Pilates. So I'm probably going to be like, well, good luck with bringing awareness to whatever you're doing, but you're not going to build muscle doing any of those things because none of them are considered resistance. I mean, I guess if you do Pilates like reformer work, okay, but how many repetitions do you have to do to equal like 4 sets of 12 bicep curls? Like 1,000 probably. So anyways, I'm going to skip to the quiz here.
Yeah, first things first, the quiz is way too long. Like my ADHD is out. I was out after like, I'm still doing it, but like my ADHD brain was out after question 5. I feel like if we have more than 5 questions for a coaching intake, I'm out. Like you're doing too much. And I know that this is probably a program where I will never actually speak to a human if I chose to sign up. I imagine I'm getting emailed a PDF or link to an app or something like that. Because I feel like
it's kind of asking me like what I want to achieve, what my body type is, what my preferred body type is. So it's very focused around what you want to look like rather than how you want to feel.
That's
which
why
kind of goes against what they just said about like going internal with the movement. How long ago were you in the best shape of your life?
But yeah, that is
what do
exactly.
we consider best shape of my life?
That is exactly why I get you to redo the definition, because I'm like, these two things are not going together
Have
very
you
well.
tried Pilates wall workouts before? Nope.
I also think
What are your target zones? Ew.
with questionnaires like this,
How flexible are you?
it's impersonal, because I straight up said, it said, how much tension do you experience tension in your body? I said no. And then the next question was, where do you experience tension in your body? And like, this is an automated questionnaire, and I literally said no, and it still asked me a question about tension. So
Interesting. So it's not very targeted. How often do you exercise?
it's also telling me that it's
How
not
often do you
even
go for walks?
this also shows me that it's not actually registering your answers, because if I said no to tension in my body, there shouldn't have been a follow-up question around that. And what I mean by that is, like, everyone's getting the same program, and someone can tell me that's not true, that's fine. But the fact that my follow-up questions do not matter based on my previous answer means that there's not probably any different programs for however you answer this. Everyone's probably ending up with the same program.
Yeah, it's asking about my nutrition now, which is interesting. How about lunch? How about dinner? What type of diet do you prefer? So it's going to give me diet recommendations too for my emotions.
I hope so. Oh, that's a nice treat.
Any of the following events led to weight gain in the last few years? Wow.
We love a little treat of it reminding me my BMI tells me I'm obese. So that's a nice thanks for your reminder. We love that.
So what is it going to do when I tell it that I don't know how much I weigh? It doesn't give me that option. I guess I just have to guess.
Yeah, I also don't know how much I weigh, but like, I could take a guess, and like, I am 5'4", and the little avatar they built me is not at all what my body looks like. So that's good to know that like I answered all of those questions.
Avatar? Oh, mine's like not bad. It also says I have a sedentary lifestyle, which I disagree with. It also says my fitness level is intermediate. I don't know how it got up that.
I'm going to share my screen with you because you're going to have a nice little laugh at the avatar it built me.
Oh my God.
And that's no shade if you're watching on YouTube, but like, that's not what I look like at 5'4" and the weight I gave it. And I always think that's funny because BMI will never take into account anything else. Like, I literally told it I was active and advanced fitness level, that I exercise almost every day. And then it's literally telling me that I'm basically going to croak at the age of 26.
So either way, it is going to be, we're basing this on weight and height, which we know it doesn't really, like, if you're watching on YouTube, you saw that doesn't look like Jill at all. So we know, and that needs my email. I don't want to give you my email. I'm going to immediately unsubscribe.
Yep.
Believe me, your 4-week wall workout plan is ready.
It also told me that I could lose 11 pounds by March 7th.
Okay, so it's not going to give me my plan without paying.
Of course. Yeah, it told me that I could reach my goal weight by March 7th, which currently it's January 25th. So that is like 5 weeks.
It's giving me a 10-minute countdown to sign up for this.
We love that. In case you wanted to do the math on that, it said March 7th, which is like 5 weeks. The average for fat loss is 0.5 pound to 1 pound per week. Even though this told me the average for fat loss is 4 kilograms per week, which is almost 10 pounds. So that's cool.
So like, I'm not going to pay for this because that's a waste of money, even though it says it's only $1 something a day. That's too much for me to put out for this. But knowing that this is going to go into something that is called wall Pilates, I'm going to assume we're not lifting weights here.
You're not.
So I'm just kind of wondering how they're expecting this muscle to be built, because the avatar they showed me of like who I am versus who I'm going to become apparently was absolutely snatched. So I'm just not sure how they're going to achieve that without any sort of muscle like being built. And I mean, we know it's not just like a diet only program. So like, it also told me that I was sedentary though. So perhaps, yeah, I don't know. I think this is going to be another kind of one of those like hoaxy things, like the Beyond Body thing, where it's going to give me some sort of unreasonable expectations. And I'm just going to be disappointed and out some money.
Yeah,
that's my general so far.
I did pull up their frequently asked questions just to see if there's anything useful.
Let's hear them.
How will I receive my customized meal and workout plan? That's cool because not one single question in that gave me enough info to build anyone a custom meal plan. So like I said, not going to be custom because my questions didn't change based on my answers. And as a coach who builds meal plans, like I said, I do not have a quarter of the information I need to build a meal plan. It said you'll receive a unique download link. It's not going to be unique. That will take you to the App Store to download the app. Once the app is installed on your phone, you need to sign into the app using your email or Apple ID. You will have unlimited access to all the features within the app for the duration of your paid period. Cool. When will I receive my custom meal and workout plan? It said, our smart algorithms are highly precise and are able to customize your fitness plan according to your specific needs. The unique download link will generate right after your payment. The plan will become available as soon as you download the app.
I kind of a little bit of a red flag for me is having a program like this without sort of a trial period. I don't love that you can't try it for 3 or 5 days and really see if it's for you. And then like, if you don't buy it on the 5th day or whatever it is, then it disappears. Like that would be, I think for the amount that they're charging, I think that they could do something like that. Even if it's 3 days and be like, let's see if it's the right fit for you. And then it would also give us a better opportunity to dig in and like tell you how terrible it's going to be.
There was a question. There was a question of if they did offer free trials, and it said that if they did, it would be offered on the payment screen. But it doesn't look like
it was not on the payment screen.
It doesn't look like it is offered like to everyone. You probably have to, I don't know. I guarantee you they give an influencer a free trial.
I guess, well, Jill, get your
send them an email and be like, excuse me.
Here's my PR.
And yeah, there's no further information on this website that I can find. Like there's the frequently asked questions and there's the questionnaire. And I don't have any further information about, other than it says chair yoga, calisthenics workout, wall Pilates.
Oh, chair. I mean, chair yoga is great if you're old or
and then
have mobility issues.
Fasting. There's an intermittent fasting, which is not surprising that's the route they're taking.
So I mean, I guess this is only like this one company that does it this way. Let's kind of go back to like that definition of somatic workouts. So like bringing attention to your movement, blah, blah, blah. So we're thinking the yoga, the Pilates world when we think of that. One thing that I have found with, I'll say it's anecdotally, but I'm sure there's actual research out there, is that if that's all you do, you're going to end up being able to, yes, move your body the way that you want to move your body. Like you're going to gain some flexibility probably by practicing yoga for a really long time, but you're not going to be strong. You're going to be more like loosey-goosey when it comes to like your joints and things like that. I know a lot of people who have done like the yoga, the Pilates, like the bar type exercises, those really sort of hyper-focused things. and ended up like you kind of feel strong, but you're not really functionally strong. Have you heard of people like doing that kind of thing, Jill, where they're actually just not really strong at all?
Yeah, I think anyone can end up there if you're only ever doing one form of movement. And I think that's important. Does that make sense?
So yeah,
Like,
and what I was gonna say next is I think having a movement practice like Pilates, bar, yoga, that category of exercise is really great as an accomplice to a strength training program or a running, like whatever, like a traditional strength training program, because we know none of those exercises are going to be giving you the true resistance that you need to be building that bone density, increasing your strength, those kinds of things that we know are things that work. The only thing that does that is strength training with weights.
mm-hmm.
So are they good in like a snack size? Yeah, absolutely. Do your yoga, do your Pilates, but don't neglect the things that we know that truly work for all of the things you want to achieve. Yeah, if you want to have a mindfulness practice once a week, once every other week, great. I think it's probably helpful, probably be good for you. But I don't think we need to be like every time we pick up. I don't think we need to be like, I did the little hands like namaste. I don't think that needs to be part of like your everyday strength training program. Maybe you do a meditation every day, cool. But it's a very small snippet of your day. I don't think we need to be in the squat rack being like, the emotions that are in my hips right now, release them. Like that would just weird me out. It reminds me of the girl who used to go to the gym I used to go and work at, who went and did ballet on the turf.
We love that.
That's what or she would deadlift in point shoes, which I thought was just ballsy.
I mean, whatever works, I guess. I did end up
flats, so
I did read some reviews of the Better Me program, which allowed me to gather slightly more information on what it actually is. It looks like it's around $150 US a month, so like
that seems pricey.
Over 200 Canadian. All the workouts are between 10 and 14 minutes long. I have so many thoughts and feelings. I understand that something is better than nothing, but I also can promise you, if your goal is fat loss and building muscle, like I put in that questionnaire, we're going to have to do more than 10 to 14 minutes every time we work out. And you cannot convince me otherwise. Maybe some days you go for a 10-minute walk because that's all you have. But if your workouts are only ever 10 to 14 minutes long, we are in fact not doing enough. And less is not more in that case. And then one of the feedbacks was boring and too easy. It said, even for beginner/intermittent, they're super repetitive, lack variety. I'd rather use YouTube.
Wow. So, that's a great review. I feel like a lot of times companies like this will actually weed out and delete the poor reviews, but I'm actually glad to see that there's kind of a real one in there. And I was going to say, you know, if you want to do yoga or Pilates, there is endless free YouTube videos. Endless, absolutely endless. And then as far as like I was actually kind of surprised that the nutrition coaching part of it was as big as they made it in the questionnaire. And I'm wondering what that looks like later, but not even
they didn't ask me a single question about nutrition. So I don't know what you got. I didn't get anything about nutrition. They asked
me like what my nutrition, like my preferences were, like if I eat keto or gluten-free or
no, I didn't get a single question about nutrition. So that's why I said I don't even have a quarter of the info I need to build a meal plan, because they didn't ask me.
Well, that's probably why my after avatar was absolutely snatched.
Yeah. Like,
she kind
I
of looks like
also
a Barbie doll with like the very, very skinny waist and like really sort of like bigger hips. And I was like, I am not going to get that way from Pilates. Like, I'm sorry. That's also not realistic for like my skeleton. But thanks.
I also had a nice laugh at the what's your main goal question, because it was like release stored emotions, lose weight, reduce stress and worry, get out of survival mode. And I'm like, what? Lose weight doesn't fit in there.
Some of those things are like the same thing though, right? Like,
and also
like
why
in
is
like
lose
the
weight
same
in
category? There? Like, are we working out for physical or emotional reasons? And then go to like the subcategory. Like that would be.
Well, I just think it's funny that lose weight was the only one that wasn't emotional. Like, I'm like, what?
Yeah. I mean, I can appreciate the angle of we don't always need to be doing like HIIT or killing it in the gym because our bodies don't compartmentalize stress. And so when you are high stress, yeah, it can be better for you in the long run to do something slower like yoga, bring some intention to what you're doing, maybe even just stretching or meditation, or even just some foam rolling or like things like that. And we don't always have to like kill our emotions with sweat type thing. So I find the category very broad of what this actually means, but I also feel like it's not like an or, it's an and. Do you know what I mean?
I was
like,
gonna say,
like lift weights or do this. It's we could do, hear me out, sort of balance of a lot of different things that satisfy how we are in the day or in the moment. Like right now, Jill, you're not feeling great. But maybe if your body was like, dude, we need to move, you could do a nice little stretch on your living room floor. And that would probably be great.
I was going to say, I don't like, as much as we've not given you much positive about this program, it might not be a terrible add to what you're already doing, but I think it's going to give you what you want by itself? No. I just
should we
think
add like if the question is, should we add a sort of mindfulness practice of whatever category to what we're already doing? Yeah, sure.
Or if you're
Or
if you're only ever strength training and you don't do any lower intensity chill movement, yeah, it might be a good add. But like I said, 10 to 14 minutes is not doing shit for any of your goals. So
yeah, I don't like the other side of it because I think like the people who are like pro strength training are probably going to be like, yeah, I could definitely add something like that in, and I'm sure it would help me. But I feel like the people that are hardcore this side in the, I do somatic workouts, they're going to be like, well, I don't need any of that other shit.
But I also don't think
it doesn't go both ways.
If you went to a regular Pilates or yoga class, it's more than 10 to 14 minutes. So I just don't know why that's the length they chose. Like, that is so little movement to be your entire workout routine that I'm like, why? Like, we are literally doing too little. And it's not often that I say we're doing too little. Most people do too much, but like you're doing far too little if that's all you ever do.
I mean, I guess I could say that like if you were doing absolutely nothing in this very moment, 10 to 15 minutes is probably going to be enough to get something started.
Yeah, for the first like 2 months.
Yeah, or even less. But it's not going to be something you're going to do for the rest of your life. You're going to be adding things in. Otherwise, you're just going to sit there and be stagnant. Your body is not going to change after a certain point, which is why I think the person was like, they're too easy, they're boring. But it's not marketed as this is a great way to get started if you are absolutely sedentary. No. It's marketed as this is the way.
And there was lots of feedback on there that was like, it's great, it's time efficient, blah, 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 blah. But I also guarantee most of those reviews were probably written in the first couple weeks. And most of those people that wrote those reviews were like, holy shit, I've actually stuck to it, which is great. But it's because it's so little that like we tell people with their programs, like if you don't really want to go to the gym, go and say you're going to do 10 minutes. Because once you start, you're probably fine. But 10 minutes should not be all we do all the time.
Yeah. So I guess to answer the question, is it fit for the pit? Only somatic training? Yep.
It's a no
I'd say
from
put
me.
it in the pit.
Dog.
Do it. Put it. And the thing is, Jill, you have to realize on Street Sense, it was like a manhole cover.
Oh.
And they would open it up and they would put it in and it would go with like smoke coming out. So like it was cool. I'll try to find a YouTube clip and send it to you because I think
Perfect.
You'll appreciate it. But like as an add-on to a really great strength training program, yeah, let's add a mindfulness activity. But you know what though? I don't want you to limit yourself to it's only yoga, it's only Pilates, it's only stretching. It could be a nice leisure walk, right? Not saying like go for a power walk or like have your dog drag you around, but it could be just that time where you bring awareness to like, I don't know. I do I would say that my somatic workout is actually my easy run, my short, easy run, because I do a lot of really good thinking when I'm running, which is why I have 100 voice notes to myself on my phone or like little notes going on, because I think of something and I'm like, I got to tell myself this for later because I'll never think of it because my head is clear. I'm bringing that awareness. Whether the emotions are in my hips or not, I don't care. My hips don't lie though. So that line always just makes me think of like a really poor like sort of yoga thing. And I know that that's like a big thing that yoga people say. I don't think everybody feels that way. And I don't think that hip openers are going to solve your problems.
Therapy might.
I just don't.
Maybe try some therapy.
Shoot me for saying that. Sorry, yoga people. It's just a little too abstract for my scientific mind.
Yeah. So yeah, I think it's a big old no thank you from both of us. If you've tried it, please let us know. We will admit to being wrong. Like if you're gonna send us a message and be like, this is the greatest thing I've ever done.
I want a full testimonial if you've done it though. Like I'm gonna have extra questions. You can even come on the pod and tell us all about it if you want to.
And like, here's my progress pic. Like I want all the details because I know that app is asking for progress pictures and not giving you the option to not do it. So like I want all of the feedback. We will admit to, well, I don't think we're wrong, but there's an exception to every rule. And we would love to know if you happen to be that exception. If you have anything else that's come up, I feel like this year was kind of chill for the new year, new me program side of things. Like, I don't think there's anything too crazy, which is kind of cool. But yeah, if you have anything that's come up for you that you have questions about, you can always send it to us. We're happy to look into it and give our feedback. You're always welcome to send questions over to the podcast at Lattes and Lifting Podcast on Instagram. I am solely responsible over there these days. So if I don't answer you, just send me another DM.
Yes. And I will always put up a question box the week that we're recording for your general questions. And I'll try to remember to tag Jill and the podcast in that so that they actually see it. Jill in particular doesn't always see things, so it's fine. You're busy.
Yeah, I try my best. Yeah, you can find me as always on TikTok and Instagram at CoachJill.April. Podcast I already said. What else we got? What am I missing?
You can find me, which is where that question box will be, at JLack Fitness.
And we will catch you guys next time.
Bye.